A group against that 3,000-bed state prison in Franklin County now getting those in Fayetteville involved. Thanks for joining us. I'm Darren Bobb. The governor first announced plans for the project in October. She said the goal was to address the state's prison overcrowding issues. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer was at an informational meeting tonight and has what both sides would rather see instead of that facility.
Gravel and Grit was formed to oppose the prison. They hosted State Senator Bryan King of Green Forest to share what he thinks is a better solution for jail overcrowding.
I'm trying to go all around the state, get different perspectives because there's different issues in different counties and it takes different solutions, but it's always going to take money.
King's legislation is focused on having a county and state partnership and expanding county jails instead of building the state prison, as well as a dedicated revenue stream to hire hundreds of public safety officers.
If we don't get the crime rate down, which the governor's plan does not significantly do anything to reduce the crime rate, we're going to continue to have the problem.
The effort in Fayetteville brought the issue to the backyard of Arkansas Justice Reform Coalition Executive Director Sarah Moore. She says she doesn't like the idea of a new prison, but also isn't a fan of jail expansion.
Unfortunately, the 2 bills that he's proposed are spending that we can't afford either. You know, adding additional law enforcement, adding additional jail beds. These are things that voters haven't been very, popular to add jail beds in Northwest Arkansas. We're excited to think about if we took $100 million, what kind of reentry services and pretrial services and what kind of housing supports could we create to really create public safety?
The meeting came as the Joint Budget Committee on Thursday voted to not accept the governor's letter asking for $330 million for the prison. Lawmakers like King saying spending that money with no plan from the governor's office wasn't an option for him.
We need to talk about this situation and relook at the thing before we get too deep into it. With these prison building companies know that once you're in for $400 million and you're half done, you can't quit.
While others saying that's just a part of the process.
One in this room can relate to a city or a county needing a water or sewer project, and what do? We give a grant so they can go get the plans, so they can understand the cost.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Meanwhile, the Arkansas Department of Transportation spending the evening showing off its plans for improving Towson Avenue in Fort Smith. Tonight's meeting was to gather input from local residents and answer a few questions about what is planned. The project will add sidewalks to the 4-mile stretch from Garrison to South Zero Street. Dave Parker with RDOT, though, says one of the biggest parts will be improving drainage to keep Towson from flooding during heavy rain.
This would increase the road there by a foot or two, kind of make the surface a little clearer, easier if flooding does occur. The main thing is safety, efficiency. There will be sidewalks. It's going to help out that area quite a bit. So sidewalks, drainage, improve the curb and gutter, that sort of thing. So not what you'd call major improvements, but just by adding sidewalks, increasing the lane space, quality of life, speed, safety, all that comes into play.
Now, if you didn't get to make it to the meeting tonight, you can always go to the RDOT website and offer comments there. Public comment ends, by the way, on March 13th. Another beautiful day all across the area today. It looks like it's going to continue tomorrow. Joshua Weisel now with the look at a forecast that really is unseasonable right now.
Yeah, and it's going to be another beautiful day tomorrow. So if you were hoping that this weather continues, good news is you got tomorrow. You even have the next couple of days to enjoy this. Right now, we're sitting right around the 40s and 50s across Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. So it's relatively more of a comfortable evening compared to what we've seen the last several weeks. As you can see, clear skies will continue into tomorrow morning. And the early part of the day, you will want a jacket to start off just because it's going to be slightly chilly before you head out the door. But then as you head into the afternoon hours, you're going to not need that hoodie anymore. It's a beautiful afternoon with those warm temperatures. We're going to be talking about how warm it gets tomorrow, rain chances arriving by late Sunday, and then even some storm chances coming up on Tuesday. We'll have more on that coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Joshua, thanks. New at 10 tonight, an Alabama woman was arrested in Washington County for allegedly trying to sell her child. Amber Booth was taken into custody on Monday, facing 1 count of accepting compensation for adoption. Investigators launched a probe after Booth's sister-in-law reported the child may have been given to someone in Elkins. Booth admitted to getting $50 and clothing in exchange for the child. Woman who took the baby said Booth provided signed custody documents in December, but investigators learned they were not judge approved. A guardianship hearing is set for next Wednesday. Booth appears in court on March 19th. U.S. Justice Department says it arrested hundreds of people in Arkansas as part of a statewide immigration and drug enforcement operation. 472 people arrested this month as part of the operation that targeted suspected drug criminals and illegal immigrants. Of those, 219 were immigrants living in the state illegally, with 57 processed through the Fayetteville office, 23 processed through the Fort Smith office. Attorneys also spoke today on members of the Marshallese community that were among those arrested.
People from the Marshall Islands benefit from the Compact of Free Association that's been signed between the United States government and the Republic of the Marshall Islands, which allows them free travel to and from the United States without the requirement of going through a visa application process. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone can't be deported or removed back to the Marshall Islands if they meet certain qualifications, serious criminal offenses.
The Justice Department says the immigrants they arrested for being in the U.S. illegally came from 23 different countries. An Arkansas House committee advancing a bill today that would allow the state to use nitrogen gas as a method of execution. Right now, the state only uses lethal injection. Bill sponsors say the change is needed because of the very limited access to those lethal injection drugs. But those opposed to the new alternative say there's too much room for error.
I think you can support the death penalty and still realize that the implementation of this new option would have problems because it's somewhat experimental in nature. There's a potential for botched executions.
It's never easy to take that level of freedom away from anyone. But folks, the current method that is on the laws is not working. We can't receive the drugs. We can't get them, can't buy them, can't force them to sell them to us.
Arkansas has 25 inmates on death row right now. If the bill does get passed into law, Arkansas would join 4 other states in allowing the use of nitrogen gas. Lawmakers also working on a plan to crack down on disposable vape products from China, getting around federal regulations and into the hands of children. State Rep Matt Duffield is working with vape shop owners on this proposal. Says they've purchased and tested hundreds of the devices and found startling amounts of dangerous chemicals and often far more nicotine than it says on the package.
It is abundantly clear that the disposable vapor products manufactured overseas, entering our country and eventually making their way to Arkansas, pose a huge threat to Arkansans, especially our youth.
Representative Duffield says he still has to officially file this bill. Business owners say, or he says he's working with them, says they expect it to go beyond federal regulations and work with the state's Tobacco Control Division. Tax season now well underway, and a viral post claiming pet owners can write off some of the most costly expenses like food, medical care, and grooming. Megan Molaris verifies if this is true.
A pet is a priceless investment. Consumer Reports estimates the average dog parent spends between $15,000 to $30,000 on the animal's care over its lifetime.
If you pamper your pet, chances are your Instagram algorithm pushed you this post, shared more than 650,000 times. It claims the IRS will allow tax deductions on pets starting in 2025. To verify, I consulted the IRS and certified public accountant Ryan Dodson. The claim is true with a critical caveat.
Can you deduct your pet expenses and so forth? Absolutely you can, if you meet certain requirements that set out by the Americans with Disabilities Act. If you meet those requirements, that's what the IRS follows, you can deduct those expenses.
So a filer can deduct a pet only if it's a service animal. Dodson said there are no changes in 2025 to existing tax code, which lays out the rules in Publication 502. A filer can include in medical expenses the costs of buying, training, and maintaining a guide dog or other service animals to assist a visually impaired or hearing disabled person or person with other physical disabilities. It's important to note filers who get audited will need proof their pets qualify.
You know, you're going to have to show, hey, look, there's a link between the treatment and the illness. of this condition that you have. So another thing that the IRS may look for is that they may look to see, okay, did you acquire this animal after you were diagnosed with this condition?
So the hype about the viral post is mostly all bark. Filers can deduct medical expenses for only qualifying service animals. One more note to write off these expenses: they must exceed 7.5% of the filer's adjusted gross income. With your Verify, I'm Megan Malaris.
A rare bird sighting in Arkansas has bird watchers flocking from all over the country. The yellow grosbeak, native to Mexico, has mysteriously settled on a small Berryville, Arkansas ranch. Bright yellow bird is rarely seen in the U.S., but it made a surprising stop at Cheyenne Honeycutt's bird feeder. Since posting a photo online, the bird has drawn visitors from as far away as Pennsylvania and Texas, all hoping to catch a glimpse. Taylor Long of the Northwest Arkansas Audubon Society says it's the first time it's been seen in Arkansas.
This is a bird that lives in western Mexico, but really doesn't migrate in the traditional sense. They maybe move up and down a mountain range a little bit within the year, but occasionally one individual bird, for whatever reason, gets lost, or its navigation system goes wrong, or maybe a storm blows it off track. And once it's lost enough, it's going to just start searching for habitat, something that looks like a place where it can live.
Long says he doesn't know how long the bird will stay in the area, but he is sure of one thing: it'll excite groups of birders everywhere, anywhere it goes.